Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the main screen. Her ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, exploring new systems far from Earth. The mission was simple: find new worlds, study alien life, and make contact with friendly species if they existed. The Defiance was not a warship. It was built for exploration, with laboratories, living quarters for scientists, and equipment for studying planets. The crew of 300 people included doctors, engineers, botanists, and linguists. They carried weapons only for protection against wild animals or pirates. Sarah had commanded the ship for 2 years. She was 40 years old with short black hair and calm brown eyes. Her crew trusted her completely. She had kept them safe through asteroid fields, solar storms, and equipment failures. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong. "Captain," called Lieutenant Davis from the sensor station, "I'm reading massive energy signatures ahead." "Very massive." Sarah walked over to look at his screen. The readings showed hundreds of objects moving in formation. Each object was huge, much larger than any human ship. "They were approaching fast. How many?" Sarah asked. 200 ships, maybe more. They're definitely artificial. Size estimates put the smallest ones at 3 times our length. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. The Defiance was 800 meters long, one of the largest ships humans had ever built. If these unknown vessels were 3 times bigger, they were massive warships. "Are they heading toward us?" she asked. "No, Captain. They're moving toward Earth's general direction. But they'll pass close to us in about 6 hours. Sarah thought quickly. These ships were clearly military vessels from an unknown alien civilization. They were heading toward human space, which meant Earth could be in danger. She had to find out their intentions. "Change course," she ordered. "Intercept them." "Captain," said Commander Williams, her second in command. "That might not be wise. We don't know if they're hostile." "That's exactly why we need to intercept them," Sarah replied. "If they mean harm to Earth, we're the only ones who can warn our people." The Defiance changed direction and accelerated toward the alien fleet. As they got closer, the sensors revealed more details. The ships were beautiful in a deadly way. They had sleek hulls that seemed to shimmer with energy. Strange symbols were carved into their sides. Each vessel bristled with weapon ports. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," reported the communications officer. "Put it on screen." The main display showed an alien face that looked almost human, but not quite. The creature had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Golden decorations covered its uniform. "Unknown vessel," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Hegemony. You will identify yourself immediately." Sarah stepped forward. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Defiance. We are an exploration vessel from the planet Earth." The Admiral's expression changed. His black eyes widened with what looked like surprise and hunger. "Earth," he repeated slowly. "The source of the primitive broadcasts we have been tracking. How fortunate. What are your intentions in our space?" Sarah asked. Vextar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Our intentions are conquest, little human. Your species has caught the attention of the hegemony. We have studied your crude transmissions, your television shows, your internet communications, your military frequencies. You are a young species with basic technology. You will serve the hegemony as slaves." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "I'm afraid that won't be happening, Admiral." The alien laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Look around you, human. You have one small ship. I command 200 vessels of the hegemony fleet. Each of my ships could destroy 10 of yours. Surrender now and your death will be quick." Sarah looked at her crew. They were scared, but they stood ready to follow her orders. She had trained them well. They knew their duty. "I have a counteroffer," Sarah said to the alien. "Turn around and leave our space immediately. This is your only warning." Vextar's laughter grew louder. Several other aliens appeared on the screen behind him, all laughing at the human's words. "One ship against 200, Vextar said. "You must be insane." "Very well, human. You have chosen death over slavery. I will destroy your vessel and then proceed to your homeworld. Your people will pay for your arrogance." The transmission ended. Sarah turned to her crew. Battle stations. All hands to combat positions. Alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The exploration vessel transformed as hidden armor plates slid into place and weapon ports opened. The Defiance had been built as an exploration ship, but humans always prepared for the worst. "Shields up," Sarah ordered. Charge all weapons. Captain, said her weapons officer, we're outnumbered 200 to 1. Our shields won't hold against that kind of firepower. Maybe, Sarah said, but they don't know what they're dealing with. Human ships aren't built like alien ships. Our shields work differently. Our weapons work differently. Everything about us is different. On the sensor screen, the alien fleet was spreading into attack formation. The ships moved with perfect precision, like a dance they had performed 1,000 times. This was clearly an experienced military force. They're charging weapons, reported the tactical officer. Sarah sat in her command chair. Hold position. Let them make the first move. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of equipment and the beeping of sensors. Everyone watched the main screen as 200 alien warships prepared to attack their single vessel. Incoming. Transmission from the alien fleet, said the communications. Officer, put it through. Vextar appeared on the screen again. Last chance, human. Surrender, and I will make your death painless. Sarah looked directly into the alien's black eyes. No. The Admiral's expression turned to rage. Then die. The transmission cut off. On the sensor display, energy readings from the alien ship spiked. Weapons were powering up across the entire fleet. Here they come, whispered someone on the bridge. Sarah gripped her chair arms. All hands brace for impact. 200 alien ships opened fire at once. The space around the Defiance lit up with deadly energy beams. Plasma bolts, laser arrays, and particle cannons all focused on the single human vessel. The crew watched their shields take the full force of the attack. Energy readings went crazy. Sparks flew from several control panels. Then the weapons fire stopped. The aliens waited to see the destruction they had caused, but the Defiance was still there. Its shields were still holding. On her screen, Sarah could see the confusion on Vexitar's face. His weapons had destroyed planets before. They had never failed to penetrate enemy shields, Sarah smiled. Now it's our turn. Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The energy reading showed impossible results. His fleet had fired enough plasma to melt a small moon. Every weapon had hit the human ship directly, yet the primitive vessel remained intact. Scan their shields, he ordered his weapons officer. Find their frequency. Find their weakness. The officer worked frantically at his controls. Admiral, I cannot understand these readings. Their shields are not absorbing our energy. They are redirecting it somehow. Vextar had conquered 47 star systems for the hegemony. He had destroyed thousands of enemy ships. Never had he seen technology like this. The human shields worked on principles his scientists did not recognize. On the human ship, Captain Sarah Chen studied her own displays. The alien weapons were powerful, but they all worked the same way. They fired concentrated energy that tried to overwhelm defensive shields through brute force. Human shields were different. Instead of absorbing energy attacks, they created quantum fields that sent the energy somewhere else entirely. Damage report, Sarah asked. Shields at 98%, replied her engineering officer. Minor power fluctuations in Deck 7. All systems nominal, Sarah nodded. The aliens had shown their hand. Now she would show them humanity's answer. Target the lead ships in their formation, she ordered. Load kinetic impactors. Maximum velocity. Her weapons officer's hands moved across his controls. Impactors loaded and ready, Captain. Acceleration chambers charged to full power. The kinetic impactors were simple weapons based on an old human principle. Instead of using energy beams like most alien races, humans fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The Defiance's magnetic acceleration system could launch a tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole at 90% light speed. Fire. 6 impactors launched from the human ship. They were invisible to the naked eye, moving too fast to track. The aliens' sensors detected the launch, but their computers could not calculate the projectile's speed correctly. The first impactor hit Vextar's flagship in the forward section. It passed completely through the ship's energy shields as if they were not there. The tungsten rod punched through 5 decks of armor plating before exploding in the ship's main reactor. The flagship split in half in a burst of white light. The other 5 impactors found their targets. 4 more alien ships disappeared in explosions that lit up the space around them. The 6th projectile missed its target but hit another ship behind it, tearing through its hull like paper. In 30 seconds, 6 Zephyrian warships had been destroyed. Vextar found himself on the deck of his backup command ship, his ears ringing from the explosion. Half his bridge crew was dead. The other half stared at their instruments in shock. "Report," he shouted. "6 ships destroyed, Admiral," his tactical officer said in a shaking voice. "The human weapons passed through our shields completely. Our defensive systems could not stop them." Vextar pulled himself to his feet. His beautiful uniform was torn and bloody. "How is that possible?" "Their weapons are not energy-based, Admiral. They are physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Our shields are designed to stop energy attacks, not solid matter." The Admiral looked at the tactical display. 6 of his ships were gone. Debris and bodies floated in space where proud Zephyrian vessels had been moments before. The human ship sat motionless, apparently undamaged. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet. "Concentrate fire on the human vessel. Maximum power. Destroy it now." 194 alien ships opened fire at once. Space filled with deadly light as every weapon in the fleet focused on the lone human ship. The energy output was enough to sterilize a planet. The Defiance's shields flared as they redirected the massive attack. Power levels fluctuated throughout the ship, but the quantum field generators held steady. "Shields at 87%, reported the engineering officer. Sarah nodded. "Load spread pattern. Target their main formation." The weapons officer loaded 12 impactors this time, each one aimed at a different alien ship. "Ready to fire, Captain." Fire. 12 tungsten rods launched into space. The aliens were ready this time. Some ships tried to dodge. Others activated point defense systems. A few attempted to block the projectiles with their own hulls. Nothing worked. The impactors moved too fast for evasion. Point defense lasers could not track objects at 90% light speed. Ships that tried to intercept the projectiles were simply destroyed along with their intended targets. 12 more alien vessels exploded. Vextar watched his fleet die and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. Real, cold fear that made his hands shake and his breathing difficult. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "The other ships are requesting new orders. Some captains are asking permission to retreat." Vextar snarled. Retreat was not a word in the Zephyrian military vocabulary. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years because they never retreated. They never showed weakness, but 18 of his ships were gone. 18 ships destroyed by a single enemy vessel that had barely been damaged. "Send a message to the human ship," he ordered. The main screen showed the interior of the human bridge. The alien captain stood calmly in the center, her crew working efficiently around her. She looked completely in control. "Human captain," Vextar said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your weapons are impressive, but you are still outnumbered. I offer you terms. Surrender your ship's technology to the hegemony and we will grant you a quick death." The human woman smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Admiral, you seem to have misunderstood the situation. You are not negotiating from a position of strength. You have lost 18 ships and I haven't even started fighting seriously yet." Vextar felt his fear growing. "Impossible." "You have fired everything you have I?" the human asked. "Admiral, my ship carries 200 kinetic impactors. I've used 18. Would you like me to demonstrate what happens when I fire all of them at once?" The alien's blood went cold. 200 projectiles would destroy most of his remaining fleet. But surely she was bluffing. No ship could carry that much firepower. "You lie," he said. "No vessel could mount such weapons." The human captain's smile grew wider. "There's an old saying from my world, Admiral. Speak softly and carry a big stick. You've been speaking loudly. Now you get to see our stick." She turned to her weapons officer. "Load full spread pattern. Target every ship in their fleet. All impactors loaded and ready, Captain." Sarah looked back at the alien admiral. "Last chance, Admiral. Order your fleet to withdraw or I will destroy every single ship you have." Vextar looked at his tactical display. His remaining ships were spread across several million kilometers of space. There was no way one ship could target all of them simultaneously. "You cannot hit us all," he said. "We are too spread out." "Admiral," the human said patiently, "your ships are large and slow. My weapons are small and very, very fast. Watch and learn." The transmission ended. Sarah turned to her crew. "Fire everything." Space erupted in death and light. 200 kinetic impactors launched from the Defiance in a coordinated spread pattern. Each tungsten rod had been programmed with the exact location and movement pattern of an enemy ship. The human targeting computers had calculated every trajectory, accounting for the alien speed, direction, and probable evasive maneuvers. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as his fleet died around him. Ships that had served the hegemony for centuries disappeared in brilliant explosions. Proud vessels that had conquered worlds were cut in half by invisible projectiles moving at impossible speeds. In 60 seconds, half his remaining fleet was gone. "Evasive action," he screamed into his communication system. "All ships scatter." Random patterns. The surviving alien vessels broke formation and fled in different directions. Some headed for nearby planets. Others tried to reach the edge of the star system. A few brave captains attempted to return fire while retreating. Captain Sarah Chen watched the aliens scatter on her tactical display. Their coordinated attack formation had dissolved into chaos. Individual ships were running for their lives instead of fighting as a unified force. "They're trying to escape," observed Commander Williams. "Not on my watch," Sarah replied. "Helm, engage the quantum drive." The Defiance's experimental faster-than-light system activated. Unlike the aliens' traditional FTL drives that required time to charge and could only jump between specific points, the human quantum drive created temporary wormholes in space-time. The ship could appear anywhere within several light-years instantly. "Target the ships heading for the outer system," Sarah ordered. The Defiance vanished from its position and reappeared directly in front of 3 fleeing alien vessels. The enemy ships were traveling at maximum speed when the human ship materialized in their path. "Fire," Sarah commanded. 3 impactors launched at point-blank range. The alien ships had no time to dodge or return fire. They exploded simultaneously, creating a chain reaction that lit up the darkness. Before the explosions had faded, the Defiance disappeared again. It reappeared behind a group of 5 alien ships that were trying to reach a nearby planet. The enemy vessels detected the human ship and immediately began evasive maneuvers. But they were too slow. "Full spread," Sarah ordered. 5 more alien ships died. Vextar's command ship shook as explosions from dying vessels sent shockwaves through space. His tactical officer struggled to track the human vessel, but every time their sensors locked onto it, the ship vanished and appeared somewhere else. "How are they moving so fast?" Vextar demanded. "Admiral, their drive system is unlike anything in our databases. They seem to be folding space-time itself. Our sensors cannot predict where they will appear next." The human ship materialized directly above Vextar's vessel. The Admiral looked up at the main screen and saw the Defiance hanging in space like a predator studying its prey. "Fire all weapons," he screamed. The alien command ship's plasma cannons and missile launchers opened fire at maximum rate. Energy beams and explosive projectiles filled the space between the 2 vessels. The human ship's shields absorbed the attack effortlessly. Then the Defiance simply vanished again. It reappeared 2 seconds later, directly behind the alien ship. "Surrender now," came Sarah's voice over the communication system. "Or join your friends." Vextar looked at his tactical display. Of his original 200 ships, only 40 remained. Most of those were damaged and scattered across the star system. His proud fleet had been reduced to space debris by a single human vessel. "Never," he snarled. "The hegemony does not surrender to primitives." The communication ended. The human ship fired a single impactor. The projectile passed through the rear section of Vextar's command ship, destroying the main engines but leaving the rest of the vessel intact. The ship went dead in space, powerless and helpless. "Admiral," his engineering officer reported. "Main power is offline. Engines destroyed. Life support running on backup power." Vextar slammed his fist on the command console. The human captain could have destroyed his ship completely, but she had chosen to disable it instead. The message was clear. She was playing with him. The Defiance appeared again, this time directly in front of the disabled alien ship. Sarah Chen's voice filled the bridge. "Admiral Vextar, you now have 39 ships left. I can destroy them all in the next 10 minutes, or you can order them to surrender. Choose wisely." Vextar looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead or injured. His weapons were offline. His engines were destroyed. His fleet was scattered and dying, but he was still a Zephyrian admiral. His species had ruled the galaxy for a millennium. They had never been defeated by an inferior race. "All ships," he broadcast to his remaining vessels, "converge on my position. Ramming speed. If we cannot destroy this human with weapons, we will crush it with our hulls." The surviving alien ships turned toward Vextar's position and accelerated to maximum speed. Their captains were willing to die if it meant taking the human ship with them. Sarah watched the tactical display as 39 enemy vessels approached her position. They were coming fast, apparently intending to ram the Defiance with their own ships. Interesting tactic, she mused. Desperate but interesting. Orders, Captain? Asked her weapons officer. Wait, Sarah said. Let them come closer. The alien ships formed a rough sphere around the Defiance, closing in from all directions. At their current speed, they would reach the human ship in less than 2 minutes. Captain, said Commander Williams nervously. They'll be in ramming range soon. I know, Sarah replied calmly. Helm, prepare for quantum jump. Random pattern maximum displacement. Ready, Captain. Sarah waited until the alien ships were only seconds away from impact. She could see their hulls filling the main screen, growing larger as they approached. Jump. The Defiance vanished just as the alien ships reached its position. Without their target, the enemy vessels collided with each other instead. 20 ships crashed together in a massive explosion that could be seen from nearby planets. The Defiance reappeared several thousand kilometers away. Sarah looked at her tactical display. 19 alien ships remained, most of them heavily damaged from the collision. That was efficient, observed Williams. Sarah nodded. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your enemy defeat themselves. She opened a communication channel to the surviving alien ships. Admiral Vextar, are you still alive? A weak signal came from one of the damaged vessels. Vextar's image appeared on the screen. His uniform was burned and blue blood ran down his face. You tricked us, he gasped. I used your own aggression against you, Sarah corrected. Admiral, you started this fight with 200 ships. You now have 19 damaged vessels and no hope of victory. Will you surrender, or shall I finish what you started? Vextar looked at the readings from his remaining ships. Most had lost main power. Several were leaking atmosphere. His crew was dying, and there was nothing he could do to save them. For the first time in his life, Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian hegemony spoke the words he had never imagined saying. We surrender. Admiral Vextar sat in the damaged command center of his dying ship, staring at the human vessel on his main screen. The word surrender tasted like poison in his mouth. In 1,000 years of hegemony expansion, no Zephyrian admiral had ever spoken those words to an enemy, but Captain Sarah Chen was not finished with him yet. Admiral, her voice came through the communication system. I accept your surrender. However, I need information. Your fleet was heading toward Earth. Why? Vextar hesitated. Military protocol demanded that he reveal nothing to enemies. But 19 damaged ships surrounded by debris fields were all that remained of his once mighty fleet. Protocol seemed less important now. The hegemony has been monitoring your planet for 50 years, he said slowly. Your radio and television signals, your internet communications, your military transmissions. Our scientists studied everything. They concluded that humans were a primitive species with basic technology. Easy to conquer, Sarah nodded. Your scientists made an error in judgment. Clearly, Vextar said bitterly. But the Hegemony Council has already received my initial reports. They know about Earth's location. More fleets will come. How many more fleets? Vextar almost smiled. Thousands. The hegemony controls 3 spiral arms of this galaxy. We have conquered 47 star systems. Our total military force includes over 100,000 warships. He expected this information to frighten the human captain. Instead, she looked thoughtful. Interesting, Sarah said. And where is your government located? I will not reveal strategic information, Vextar replied. Sarah's expression did not change. Very well. Helm, prepare to destroy the remaining alien vessels. Wait, Vextar shouted. You said you accepted our surrender. I accepted the surrender of your fleet, Sarah corrected. But if you won't provide information about threats to my people, then your surrender is meaningless. I'll destroy your ships and find the information elsewhere. Vextar felt sweat running down his face despite the cold air in his damaged ship. This human was completely ruthless. She spoke of destroying 19 ships and thousands of crew members as if she were discussing the weather. The hegemony capital is in the Andros system, he said quickly. 12 light-years from here. The main fleet headquarters is at Kepler Station, 8 light-years in the opposite direction. Thank you, Sarah said. Now I need you to send a message to your government. What kind of message? Sarah's smile was not pleasant. You're going to tell them that attacking Earth would be a mistake. Vextar opened a secure communication channel to Hegemony Command. The face of Supreme Admiral Kethvar appeared on the screen. Kethvar was Vextar's superior. a veteran of 30 campaigns and the architect of the hegemony's expansion policy. Admiral Vextar, Kethvar said. Report on the human situation. Vextar glanced at the human ship still visible outside his damaged vessel. Supreme Admiral, I must advise against any military action toward the human homeworld. Kethvar's expression darkened. Explain. The humans possess technology far beyond our understanding. They have defensive systems that our weapons cannot penetrate. Their offensive capabilities are unprecedented. How unprecedented? Kethvar demanded. Vextar looked around his ruined bridge. Bodies of his crew members lay under twisted metal and sparking electronics. Supreme Admiral, I began this engagement with 200 ships. 19 survived, most heavily damaged. The humans accomplished this with a single vessel. The communication channel went silent. Kethvar stared at Vextar as if he had spoken in an alien language. One ship. Kethvar repeated slowly. One ship destroyed 181 vessels of the hegemony fleet. Yes, Supreme Admiral. Impossible. Your fleet included 3 dreadnoughts and 47 battlecruisers. No single ship could... With respect, Supreme Admiral, you are wrong. I watched it happen. The human weapons pass through our shields as if they do not exist. Their defensive systems are completely immune to our energy weapons. Their mobility allows them to appear anywhere in a battle space instantly. Kethvar leaned forward in his chair. Are you requesting reinforcements, Admiral? Vextar almost laughed. Supreme Admiral, reinforcements would simply provide the humans with more targets. Unless you are prepared to send the entire hegemony fleet, I recommend we avoid human space completely. The hegemony does not retreat from primitive species. These are not primitives, Vextar said quietly. They are apex predators, and we are prey. The communication ended abruptly. Kethavar's image disappeared from the screen. Sarah Chen had been monitoring the alien communication through her ship's translation systems. She understood every word. Well, she said to her bridge crew, that could have gone better. Commander Williams looked worried. Captain, if they have 100,000 ships, then we need to make sure they never use them against Earth, Sarah finished. Helm, plot a course for the Andros system. Captain, her tactical officer said. We're one ship against an entire galactic empire. Even we have limits, Sarah turned to face her crew. These men and women had followed her into an impossible battle and emerged victorious. They trusted her judgment, but she could see doubt in their eyes now. You're right, she said. We are just one ship. But we're not fighting a conventional war. We're fighting a psychological war. The aliens' greatest strength is their belief in their own superiority. We've just shattered that belief. She gestured toward the damaged alien vessels floating outside. Admiral Vexatar will report what happened here. His superiors will investigate. They'll discover that a single human ship destroyed an entire fleet without taking significant damage. That information will spread through their military. Williams nodded slowly. They'll start questioning their own invincibility. Exactly. And while they're questioning themselves, we'll be hunting their fleets. Every engagement will reinforce the same message. Humans are not prey. Humans are predators. Sarah turned back to the main screen. The alien admiral was still visible, slumped in his command chair. Admiral Vextar, she said, I'm releasing your surviving ships. You may return to hegemony space. The alien looked confused. You're letting us go? Yes, I want you to carry a message to your people. Tell them that humanity has decided to explore this galaxy. Tell them that any hegemony ships we encounter will be destroyed without warning. Tell them that their empire's expansion has ended. Vextar stared at her. You cannot conquer the entire hegemony with one ship. Sarah's smile was cold. Admiral, I don't need to conquer your empire. I just need to break it. Fear is a powerful weapon. Your people are about to learn what it feels like to be hunted. The Defiance moved away from the alien vessels, giving them room to maneuver. One by one, the damaged hegemony ships activated their remaining engines and limped away toward their home systems. Sarah watched them go. Soon, the entire Zephyrian hegemony would know that their most powerful fleet had been destroyed by a single human ship. The psychological impact would be devastating, but she knew the real war was just beginning. 3 weeks after the battle, Supreme Admiral Kethvar stood in the main command center of Kepler Station, staring at reports that made no sense. The paperwork on his desk told an impossible story of defeat and retreat across multiple star systems. Sir, his aide approached nervously. We have another report from the Vega sector. Kethavar did not look up from his desk. Let me guess. Another fleet has encountered the human ship and been destroyed. Yes, sir. Admiral Zelknor's task force. 57 ships. No survivors. Kethavar finally raised his head. His face looked older than his years, worn down by 3 weeks of constant bad news. How many fleets have we lost now? 12, sir. Over 800 ships total. The human vessel appears to be hunting our forces systematically. The Supreme Admiral walked to the large display screen that showed the current position of all hegemony fleets. 3 weeks ago, the display had been filled with green dots representing thousands of warships spread across dozens of systems. Now large sections of space showed no green dots at all. Show me the human ship's movement pattern, he ordered. The display changed to show a red line tracking the path of the UES Defiance over the past 3 weeks. The line zigzagged across hegemony space, stopping at each location where a fleet had been destroyed. They're not moving randomly, Kethavar observed. They're following our communication networks. Every time we send orders to a fleet, they intercept our signals and hunt down those ships. His aide nodded. Our encryption means nothing to them, sir. Their computers seem to decode our messages faster than our own ships can receive them. Kethavar studied the pattern more closely. The human ship was moving toward the core systems of the hegemony, getting closer to major population centers with each attack. Sir, another officer called out. We're receiving an emergency transmission from Admiral Vextar. Put it through. Vextar's face appeared on the main screen. The alien looked exhausted, his uniform wrinkled and stained. Behind him, the bridge of his ship showed signs of hasty repairs. Supreme Admiral, Vextar said, I must report the complete destruction of the Rigel defense fleet. 93 ships lost. The human vessel appeared without warning and destroyed them in 17 minutes. Kethavar felt his stomach turn. The Rigel defense fleet had been one of their strongest forces, equipped with the latest weapons and shields. If the humans could destroy it so easily, nowhere in hegemony space was safe. Vextar, you were supposed to be hunting this human ship. Why are you always arriving after the battle is over? The Admiral's image flickered as his damaged ship's communication system struggled to maintain the connection. Supreme Admiral, we cannot catch them. Their FTL drive allows them to appear anywhere instantly. By the time we detect the battle, they are already gone. Then we change tactics, Kethavar decided. Recall all fleets to defensive positions around our major worlds. If we cannot hunt the humans, we will force them to come to us. Vextar looked uncomfortable. Sir, I do not think that will work. The human captain has made it clear that she is not interested in conquering our worlds. She only wants to destroy our fleets. What do you mean? She sends the same message after every battle, Supreme Admiral. Humanity is coming. Surrender now or be destroyed. She is not trying to occupy our territory. She is trying to break our military power completely. Kethavar stared at the tactical display. If Vextar was right, then the human strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. By destroying hegemony fleets one by one, they were creating fear and panic throughout the Empire. Military commanders would start to question orders. Planetary governors would wonder if their defenders could protect them. Sir, his aide interrupted, we have reports of ship desertions in the outer rim sectors. Entire crews are abandoning their posts rather than face the human ship. How many desertions? Over 200 ships in the last week, sir. The crews are returning to their homeworlds and refusing to serve. Kethavar closed his eyes. The hegemony had ruled through strength and fear for 1,000 years. But now his own people were more afraid of one human ship than they were of military punishment. A new alarm began ringing throughout the command center. Officers rushed to their stations as warning lights flashed red. Sir, the sensor officer called out, we have an unidentified contact approaching the station. Single ship, moving at high speed. Kethavar knew what ship it was before the sensors confirmed it. Battle stations. All defensive systems online. Kepler Station was the largest military installation in hegemony space. It was protected by energy shields that could stop a supernova, defended by weapons that could destroy entire fleets. If the human ship attacked the station, it would finally face defenses that could match its advanced technology. The main screen showed space around the station. At first, nothing was visible except stars and the distant forms of defensive satellites. Then the UES Defiance appeared. It materialized directly in front of the station, close enough that individual details of its hull were visible. The human ship looked small compared to the massive military installation. but its presence sent waves of panic through the command center. "All weapons, fire," Kethvar ordered. Kepler Station's defensive systems activated with devastating force. Energy cannons that could melt planets opened fire at point-blank range. Missile launchers released swarms of warheads. Defense satellites added their own weapons to the barrage. The space around the human ship filled with deadly light and explosive force. The attack continued for 60 seconds, pouring more energy into a small area than most stars produced in a year. When the weapons stopped firing, the Defiance remained exactly where it had appeared, completely undamaged. A communication request came from the human ship. Kethvar accepted it, and Captain Sarah Chen appeared on his main screen. "Supreme Admiral Kethvar," she said calmly. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Defiance. We need to talk." Kethvar looked around his command center. His officers stared at their instruments in disbelief. The most powerful weapons in hegemony space had failed to even scratch the human ship's hull. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want to end this war before more people die unnecessarily," Sarah replied. "In 3 weeks, I have destroyed 12 of your fleets. Over 800 ships. Thousands of crew members. This can continue or it can stop. Your choice. What are your terms?" Sarah's expression was serious but not hostile. "Simple. The hegemony will withdraw all military forces from human space and surrounding systems. You will not attempt to attack Earth or any human colony. You will not interfere with human exploration or expansion. And in return, I will stop hunting your fleets. Your empire can continue to exist in the parts of the galaxy we are not interested in." Kethvar felt anger rising in his chest. The hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species. Sarah's expression did not change. "Supreme Admiral, you have 3 choices. Accept my terms and maintain your empire and reduce territory. Continue fighting and watch me destroy every military asset you have, or..." She paused. "Or what?" "Or force me to demonstrate what human weapons can do to planets instead of just spaceships." The threat sent a chill through the command center. If the human weapons could destroy heavily shielded warships, what could they do to undefended civilian populations? "You would not attack innocent people," Kethvar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I would prefer not to," Sarah agreed. "But if you continue to threaten my species, I will do whatever is necessary to protect them. That includes making examples of hegemony worlds." Kethvar looked at his tactical display. Reports continued to arrive of more fleet desertions and panic on civilian worlds. The economic cost of the war was already destroying the Empire's ability to function. Entire sectors were declaring independence rather than wait for human attacks. "How do I know you will honor this agreement?" he asked. "You don't," Sarah said simply. "But you know I have the power to destroy your civilization completely. The fact that I am offering terms instead of simply wiping you out should tell you something about human intentions." The Supreme Admiral considered his options. He could continue fighting a war he could not win, watching his empire collapse as more fleets were destroyed and more worlds rebelled. Or he could accept defeat and save what remained of hegemony power. It was not really a choice at all. "I will need to consult with the Hegemony Council," he said. "You have 24 hours, Sarah replied. "After that, I resume hunting your fleets." The communication ended. The human ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving Kepler Station undamaged but completely demoralized. 23 hours later, Kethvar broadcast a message throughout hegemony space. All military forces were ordered to withdraw from human territory immediately. The official proclamation described the withdrawal as a strategic realignment, but everyone understood what it really meant. The Zephyrian hegemony, after 1,000 years of galactic dominance, had been defeated by a single human ship. Captain Sarah Chen received the surrender broadcast while her ship orbited a small planet on the edge of human space. She read the message twice, then turned to her crew. "Set course for Earth," she ordered. "It's time to go home." The Defiance disappeared into quantum space, leaving behind an empire that would never again threaten humanity. The galaxy had learned a new truth: humans were not prey.